Why didn't Darth Vader heal himself with the Force? Darth Vader, the Dark Lord of the Sith, was one of the most powerful Force users in Star Wars history. Yet, despite his immense strength, he remained confined to his life-supporting armor, unable to heal himself and restore his body to its former state. In the expanded universe, this was not due to a lack of ability but rather a fundamental flaw in the nature of the dark side itself and Vader's personal struggles. This essay will explore why Vader could not heal himself, citing expanded universe sources that explain the dark side's limitations in healing, Vader's psychological and emotional turmoil, his reliance on pain and suffering for power, the role of Sith doctrine in keeping him broken. The dark side does not heal, it corrupts. The Force can be used for healing, but this ability is almost exclusively tied to the light side. The dark side thrives on destruction, corruption, and decay, making true healing impossible. In Darth Bane, Path of Destruction, it is stated, "The dark side feeds on pain and suffering. It does not heal, it destroys." This principle applies to all Sith Lords, including Vader. While Sith alchemy and sorcery could be used to alter flesh, such as the grotesque rituals of the ancient Sith, these methods did not truly heal. Instead, they mutated or prolonged suffering in unnatural ways. Even Palpatine, the most powerful Sith of his era, relied on clone bodies to sustain himself rather than using the Force to heal his own decaying form. This was because the dark side is fundamentally about taking, not restoring. Vader, bound by his reliance on the dark side, was incapable of drawing on it for genuine healing. Vader's psychological conflict prevented healing. The expanded universe also presents Vader's internal struggles as a key reason for his inability to heal. In Shadows of the Empire, Vader briefly attempts to use the Force to heal himself, but he fails. For a moment, he almost touched the light side. For a moment, he almost let go of his anger, and he felt his lungs fill with cool, clean air. But then the rage returned, and the pain came back. This passage reveals a critical truth. Vader could have healed himself, but doing so required him to embrace peace, serenity, and the light side. His connection to the dark side, however, was dependent on anger, hatred, and suffering. Any attempt to heal himself meant letting go of his pain, and without his pain, he feared he would lose his power. Vader was locked in a paradox. The very thing that kept him strong, his rage, was also what kept him broken. Vader relied on pain and suffering for power. Vader's need for pain was not just psychological. It was a core aspect of his Sith identity. In Dark Lord, The Rise of Darth Vader, his thoughts on his condition are made clear. His injuries and armor made him stronger. Pain fueled his connection to the dark side. For Sith, power comes from suffering. Vader had lost almost everything: his wife, his old self, his humanity. This loss fueled his rage, and his rage fueled his strength. If he had healed himself, he would have also risked losing his greatest source of power. This concept is reinforced by Darth Plagueis' teachings in Darth Plagueis. The dark side demands sacrifice. Power comes at a cost. For Vader, the cost of his power was his broken body. His suffering was not just a burden, it was a tool. Palpatine had no interest in letting Vader heal. Another major reason Vader never healed was that Palpatine actively ensured he remained broken. In Dark Empire, it is revealed that Palpatine had no intention of letting Vader reach his full potential. Vader was powerful, but he was also dependent. His injuries ensured he would never surpass his master. Sidious saw Vader as a tool, not an equal. It is heavily implied that Vader's suit was designed to keep him in a constant state of agony and limitation. In the rise and fall of Darth Vader, it is suggested that Palpatine could have given him a more advanced, less painful suit but chose not to. Keeping Vader in a state of pain ensured he would never reach his true potential. Darth Vader remained in his broken state not because he lacked power, but because the dark side does not allow for true healing. It is a path of destruction, not restoration. Vader's own psychological conflict prevented it. To heal, he would have to let go of his pain, which meant letting go of his Sith power. His suffering was the source of his strength. Without it, he feared becoming weak. Palpatine ensured he remained dependent. His armor and pain were tools of control. Vader's inability to heal himself was a direct consequence of his choice to embrace the dark side. His suffering was not just physical, it was a manifestation of his enslavement to his own rage. Only in his final moments, when he let go of the dark side, did he finally find peace, something he had denied himself for decades. A common misconception is that Darth Vader, as a Sith Lord, should have been able to use Force Drain or other dark side abilities to heal himself. However, the expanded universe makes it clear that while Force Drain could revitalize and sustain him, it was fundamentally different from the level of power needed to fully restore his lost limbs and burned flesh. To understand why Vader remained broken despite his strength in the Force, we must differentiate between Force Drain, which replenishes energy and accelerates natural healing, and corporeal manipulation, which would require absolute control over matter at a level far beyond what even the most powerful Sith have achieved. Force Drain is a Sith ability that allows the user to siphon the life force or force energy from another being to rejuvenate themselves. This technique has been used by Sith such as Darth Nihilus, Darth Sion, and Darth Krayt, each with varying effects. However, Force Drain does not regenerate lost limbs or rebuild destroyed flesh. It only revitalizes the body's existing functions. In Knights of the Old Republic 2, Darth Sion is an excellent example of how Force Drain sustains but does not fully heal. Sion's ability to hold himself together through sheer willpower and dark side energy is the closest example of what Vader could have done. However, even Sion's technique did not allow for full restoration. His body remained a patchwork of damage and decay. Vader could, theoretically, have used Force Drain to temporarily rejuvenate himself, making his damaged body function better. But his injuries were so severe, amputations, third-degree burns over nearly all his body, and reliance on cybernetics, that no amount of stolen life force could regrow what was lost. To fully restore his body, Vader would have needed to go beyond Force Drain and instead master corporeal manipulation, the ability to reconstruct and reshape organic matter at will. This level of control over physical reality is something that no Sith, not even Darth Sidious, was ever able to achieve. The ability to reconstruct a missing body part from nothing would demand absolute command over the molecular and atomic structures of living tissue, essentially rewriting the fabric of matter itself. Even in the expanded universe, such power is almost unheard of. The closest Sith came to true corporeal manipulation was through Sith alchemy and dark side sorcery, which allowed the physical transformation of flesh. Ancient Sith like Naga Sadow and Exar Kuin could alter bodies through rituals and experiments, but these were external processes, requiring elaborate spells and energies, never a direct, conscious reshaping of one's own body. Even Palpatine, whose Dark Empire clones required Sith alchemy to function, did not possess the ability to simply will himself into a new, undamaged form. His body deteriorated due to the corruption of the dark side, requiring constant replacement rather than repair. If the most powerful Sith in history needed external sources to maintain their forms, it stands to reason that Vader, whose body was beyond natural healing, could not simply reconstruct himself without an unprecedented level of power over reality itself. The Sith focus on destruction, not creation. One of the fundamental reasons Vader never achieved corporeal regeneration is because the Sith do not seek to create, only to destroy and dominate. The light side of the Force is tied to growth, healing, and balance. concepts that Jedi healers could tap into for regenerative purposes. The dark side, in contrast, is rooted in entropy and decay. As Darth Bane's holocron states, "The dark side is a fire. It consumes, but it does not restore." This is why Sith who rely on the dark side for extended periods often suffer physical degradation, like Darth Sidious's grotesque appearance in Dark Empire, or Darth Krayt's Yuuzhan parasites overtaking his body. The dark side is not meant to sustain life, only to take it. Vader's entire being was molded by destruction, the destruction of his body, his past, and his identity. Even if he desired to heal, he had aligned himself with a power that fundamentally opposed creation and restoration. Even if corporeal manipulation were possible, Vader's mental and emotional state would have prevented him from achieving it. The shadows of the Empire passage, where he briefly taps into the light side and feels his lungs heal, demonstrates that he could have used the Force to mend himself, but doing so required surrendering his rage and embracing peace. But Vader refused to let go of his anger, and the dark side demands suffering. He was trapped in a cycle where his hatred made him powerful, but also kept him broken. By contrast, Jedi who achieve oneness with the Force have been able to perform miraculous feats of healing, but this requires absolute serenity and unity with the light. Vader was incapable of such an act because his power came from his torment. While Vader could have used Force drain to sustain himself and prolong his life, true corporeal manipulation, the ability to regrow lost limbs and restore burned flesh, was beyond his reach because the dark side does not restore, it only corrupts and consumes. Force drain only revitalizes the body's natural processes. It does not reconstruct missing body parts. Corporeal manipulation would require a complete mastery over matter and energy that no Sith in history ever achieved. The Sith philosophy is about destruction, not creation. Healing on this scale would contradict the very nature of the dark side. Vader's own emotional state prevented him from accessing the level of peace necessary to unlock true healing. In the end, Vader's greatest tragedy was that his suffering was both his prison and his source of power. The very thing that made him strong in the dark side also kept him shackled in his ruined body, ensuring that he could never be truly free. It was only in his final moments, when he renounced the dark side and saved his son, that he was able to break this cycle, allowing himself to finally pass on, whole in spirit if not in body.